Welcome. Welcome. The topic of the day is fear. And in some ways, the topic of the day is always love or fear. Title of my book, Love More, Fear Less, Float More, Steer Less. But I heard something recently that kind of that made me question the absoluteness of love more, fear less. Or at least question, I was listening to a video by Mastin Kipp, who is the founder of thedailylove.com, which is a website with all sorts of amazing authors that share positive and uplifting and love-based writing. I have contributed a number of times. Very honored to. And in his video, he was talking about how there is an error in the concept that fear is the opposite of love. And then he went on to talk about how fear is a very natural part of growth. And if you don't embrace the presence of fear, if you protect yourself from fear, you will never get outside of your comfort zone. You will never get to those growth areas. And so rather than avoid fear or think of fear as being the opposite of love, see fear as being part of the curriculum of love. And so that's something that I've been thinking about a lot since I heard him say that. Because I have been working on trying to embrace and not run from the fear thoughts, the fear feelings that I've been experiencing because of recent attempts to stretch and grow. You know, I'm in a new career path. I'm living in a new place. I'm trying to embrace some new hobbies and ways to use my time. And in each of these are areas that make me uncomfortable. And I gotta tell you, it is, it's not pleasant. And there's a lot of me that wants to just run away from it or steer around it or avoid it. And to be honest, many times I do. Not proud of that, but it's part of my path and part of my learning and part of my acknowledgement that I can do better. And by better, I don't mean winning or succeeding. By better, I mean more fearlessly embracing fear. By more allowing myself to be in situations that may cause fear to surge up and then work through it by saying, this isn't real. This is a thought. It may even be a sensation. It may be but knowing this is not real. There is nothing going to harm me. There's only thoughts of possible outcomes, or there's only patterns that make me uncomfortable. And I think that working through those things is the path to freedom and liberation, because then you can act truly from love and not from ego-conscious thoughts and fear places. And learning to embrace that fear, man, there's it's a great sci-fi theme. You know, if you're a Dune fan, there's a great scene when the protagonist is facing off against this big monster, and he's like, fear is the mind killer. I must face my fear and allow it to pass through me. Just kind of going through this process of going, yes, I feel fear, but that's in my mind. That's not really what's going to impact anything that happens right now. In fact, what's going to impact what happens right now is how I act. And if I can get rid of that fear and be present, then I have no choice but to be victorious. And I guess by victorious, I mean being present, aligning with your truth, with love. That outcome, even if it is failure or loss, cannot be wrong. Now, when we get swayed, when we are acting, making choices from fear, then it's very easy to get to places, to go down directions, to face down avenues that are I'd say, bigger failures than what traditionally we might label a failure. And failure is another thing that I've been trying to embrace. Fear of failure, fear of fear, fear of the stuff that doesn't feel good is often what keeps us in a imaginary fence. Like at the zoo, have you ever gone on a tour of the zoo where they explain the enclosures? Many of the animals are not actually in cages. They are in fear moats. They are in enclosures that have some sort of thing where there is like a dip or a wall or water or something that they won't cross. And so much of our lives are because of self-imposed walls, self-imposed thoughts of what we can't do, self-imposed thoughts of what will happen if we sit in that discomfort. Sometimes sitting in discomfort is about the most productive thing you can do. Some of the best advice I ever got was learn how to sit in the question. Learn how to, when you have indecision, when you have unknowns, don't try to make it calm and don't try to put the pieces back. Don't try to make things known as quick as possible. Don't try to make order out of things. Learn to sit in the question. Learn to float more. Because that fear is not really from the situation. The fear is from wanting the unknown to be known. I had a conversation this morning about the idea that we have so much brain training to want to understand everything. So much brain training because our brains are so amazing and it can make sense of so much that we think we can make sense of everything. And we should make sense of everything. And that we can logically think through most things or all things. But that's not true. So much of life is not to be figured out. So much of life is to be appreciated. We are witnesses to the universe. We are not masters of it. We are nerve cells of the universe, feeling, experiencing, appreciating. We are not the brain of the universe. It's tempting to think you are. And learning to go into that float more place actually takes away the fear. Because then you don't have an attachment to the way it's supposed to be. You can put your intentions, you can set a direction, but if then the flow takes you elsewhere, instead of panicking, you can go, oh, I was in integrity. I was in love. The universe steered me this way. Clearly, that's the way I'm supposed to go. That isn't to say you shouldn't set intentions. And that isn't to say you shouldn't visualize. Or you shouldn't have a vision board, or you shouldn't have goals. You should do all those things, except for use the word should. Right now, I've been participating in a group a group of people that's trying to motivate each other to set new patterns and things in their lives. And I noticed that one of the things that we had to do is to spec out goals, write down specific goals that we want to achieve over the next 30, 60, 90 days. And I have to say, I still have not done it. There is something that I find very scary about committing, about saying what I want, about visualizing some absolute future. And I don't know, it's not that I don't believe that it works. In fact, I keep having profound universal examples of when I set an intention or when I am specific and write things down, I am blown away how quickly and often those things will turn up. Maybe not exactly as I pictured, but enough so that I feel like, am I in control here? Like, to this degree? And I know what I've just been saying is maybe not all, maybe they don't all line up. Wait, are you saying you should surrender and you should float? Or are you saying you should craft your future and you should visualize? I'm saying yes. I'm saying that I believe the optimal way to visit the future, and I say visit the future because we live in the present, and through our stories and thoughts, we visit the future and we experience that. And I think the optimal way is to visualize a beautiful, inspiring, joyful scenario, specific as you can, focusing on the feelings that you have, whether that is contentment, whether that is security, whether that is love, appreciation, and create that story and have joy in the very fact of it being a story that you enjoy. And then practice not being attached, so that then you have done your best to visualize the way things should be. And you know what? You've had, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 years in existence. So good on you for giving it a shot. Now, the grand cosmic infinite universe may know better how to get you to a place that is going to give you the feelings and experiences that you really want. I think you need to ask for it. And I think you need to be prepared to get there in ways that you would never expect. If you want patience, you're going to be surrounded by assholes. If you want abundance, it may look differently than you think. So, I guess to bring it full circle, that process of visualizing and surrendering is loaded with places where fear kicks in, where fear jumps up, where fear wants to snap you away from making a bold statement. I'm afraid to say that I want to make a living writing books, speaking, and just counseling people. I'm afraid that I'm not good. Okay, I'm going to face that fear. I'm going to acknowledge that that comes from all sorts of places. And then you know what? I'm going to write that down. And then I'm going to let things happen. Like, oh my gosh, I now have a professional job where part of my job is integrating coaching type things, speaking type things, uplifting light and love and positivity and gifting into a corporate setting, and corporations are made up of people, so I am actually in this job in a different way than I visualized it. Projected the dream, the universe steered me to another version of it. Now, if I get too attached, I will be angry and frustrated because it's not what I wanted. This weekend I was describing someone my job, and as I was saying it out loud, I was like, holy moly, I am so lucky. At times when I get attached to expectations of some sort, I can't see that, whether that is my job or my relationship or my body. I want the abs I had 10 years ago. Wait a minute. I'm actually pain-free and able to, go for walks and sleep through the night, and you know what? I'm pretty lucky. Let go of the attachment. Embrace the beauty and the miracles and the wonder and the joy of it all. And sometimes that means hearing the fear. But what if you're fat? Like, okay, I'm 42 now. I'm allowed to not have the same abs I had when I was, 28, right? Okay, so now I'm not saying that I have that figured out. I'm saying that that is my process and my path right now. And, maybe by acknowledging it and facing it and sitting with it, I will overcome it. But I won't plan on it, because life is a process and we're always midway on the journey. And I'm so honored and pleased that I get to be midway on the journey with you. I think that as each of us pursues our highest selves, we do this grand work that makes the journey more beautiful for everyone. So as you become you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's have ourselves a Hug Nation hug. Grab yourselves by the shoulders. In whatever shape your body is in, if it is in a situation that allows you to hear my voice right now, well then, yee-haw! That's a functioning body, and we are blessed. Constantly healing, constantly producing energy for us. Amazing. Thank you, body. Thank you, physical shell. And thank you, personality shell. All the identities and labels, the roles that we play in the world, we enjoy those too. What a gift it is to be a parent, to be a coworker, to be an activist, to play the game of life with so much emotion and passion. But let's remember that that's another shell, and beneath that shell, just sitting, bearing witness to the miracle of it all, is our true self, our divine self, our single beam of light coming from an infinite star of divine love. And so for just a second, let's sit in that place of shining brightly and knowing that all the people we meet and encounter and cross by, inside of them is this shining light too. It may not be able to filter through their layers and layers of stuff, but it's in there. And sometimes it gets clogged, just like ours does, and let's forgive them as we forgive ourselves. But just for a moment here, let's feel our bright light shining unobstructed. And imagine all the lights in the world shining unobstructed, beaming, lighting up this planet, lighting up the cosmos. Let's take 3 breaths together, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Ready? On behalf of Grandpa Caleb and all the love warriors, happy Hug Nation. Thank you for being you and shining your light. I love you. Namaste.